All right, let's talk about something huge. If you own a website, you need to be paying attention because AI search is here and it is absolutely changing the game. Today, we're going to break down exactly how you can get your website, your content, featured in answers from tools like ChatGPT so you don't get left in the dust. So let's start with a really important question, one you need to ask yourself right now. Is your website basically invisible to AI? Because if you haven't been actively working on this, you're probably missing out on a massive new way for people to find you. The good news? We're going to fix that, starting right now. To really get why this matters so much, you have to understand how the entire game has shifted. Traditional search, that was all about getting clicks, right? You wanted someone to pick your blue link out of a list of 10. But AI-powered answers? That's a whole different world. The new goal is to get a citation. The AI gives a direct, perfect answer, and you want to be the trusted source it quotes. The answer finds the user now, and you've got to be a part of it. So how do we get you there? Well, we've broken it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll cover the absolutely essential technical foundation your site needs. Then, we'll get into mastering your content to really earn the AI's trust. After that, we'll look at some pretty cool advanced techniques to, get this, speak the AI's own language. And finally, we'll show you how to actually know if any of this is working. All right, let's jump right into building that solid foundation because look, before an AI can ever trust your expertise, it has to be able to read your website easily and perfectly. And that all comes down to good old-fashioned, clean, technical SEO. This really boils down to 3 core things. First, your HTML has to be clean. That means using what are called semantic tags, like article or header. Think of it like labeling your drawers. It tells the AI, hey, this part is the main story, giving it context that a generic tag never could. Second, your site has to be fast. AI crawlers are just like us. They have no patience for slow-loading pages. And third, you need a sitemap. This is literally you handing the AI a map of your website, making sure it doesn't miss any of your best stuff. And here's the thing you've got to remember. None of this is some brand new secret trick. These are SEO fundamentals that have been around for years. The big difference now is that in the age of AI, they're not just best practices anymore, they are absolutely 100% non-negotiable. Okay, so once your technical house is in order, we can get to the most important part, your actual content. This is where you prove your value. It's where you earn the AI's trust by showing that your information is not just accurate, but truly authoritative and reliable. And the gold standard for this is an acronym you have got to know, E.A.T. It stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This is the framework that Google itself uses to figure out what's high quality. And guess what? The big AI models are being trained to look for these exact same signals. So how do you actually show that you have E.A.T? It's pretty intuitive, actually. You provide clear author bios so the AI knows who is behind the information. You cite your sources, just like in a research paper. You keep your content fresh and updated to prove it's still relevant. And most importantly, you answer questions clearly and directly. Each of these actions is like a little signal to the AI that says, hey, you can trust us. Okay, so your foundation is solid, your content is trustworthy. Now let's get into the really fun stuff. The advanced techniques. This is where we go from just being understood by AI to being deeply and precisely understood. We're going to learn how to speak its native language. The secret weapon here is something called structured data, or schema markup. I love this analogy. It's like adding invisible price tags and nutrition labels all over your website. For example, you can label a number as a price, or a date as an event start time. It changes nothing for your human visitors, but for a machine, it makes everything on your page crystal clear. It removes all ambiguity. And just look at how practical this is. If you've written a how-to guide, you can literally use the how-to schema to label it. If you have an FAQ section, you use the FAQ page schema. There are specific labels for articles, for products, for events, pretty much anything you can think of. This takes all the guesswork out of it for the AI crawler. Now, I know what you're thinking. Implementing code sounds intimidating, but it's way more straightforward than it sounds. First, you just identify what kind of content you have. Then you use a free online tool to generate the little code snippet. You pop that code into your page's HTML, and then, and this is a crucial last step, you test it with a validator tool to make sure you didn't make any typos. That's it. Okay, So you've done all this work. You've cleaned up your site, beefed up your content, and you've even added these fancy labels. But how do you know if it's actually paying off? This last part is all about creating that feedback loop so you can measure your success. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. How in the world do you know if you're actually being indexed and, more importantly, cited by these AI models? Your usual analytics don't always tell the whole story because we're not just hunting for clicks anymore. So, here are a few practical things you can do. First, you can check your analytics for any referral traffic from AI platforms. But honestly, the most direct way is to just go to the source. Go to ChatGPT, ask it questions that you should be the expert on, and see if your site pops up as a source. Beyond that, keep an eye out for mentions of your brand and watch for any strange, sudden lifts in traffic for really specific, long-tail keywords. When you boil it all down, all of this work, every single step, it all comes back to this one powerful idea. Your goal isn't just to get crawled by a bot anymore. Your goal is to become such a trusted, valuable, citable source of information that an AI is confident enough to present your work as the answer. So, if you follow these steps, you will be in great shape for the AI of today. But we all know this space is moving at lightning speed, and that leaves us with one last, big question to think about. What about tomorrow?